Hello class. Welcome to StudyWave Academy, where education is without limits. Now, today we're going to focus on the kindergarten work on phonics. We're going to understand what phonics are. We're going to learn more about phonics, and by the end of this class, we're going to be talking about phonics and even giving examples of what these phonics are. So our first priority today, our first focus today is to understand what phonics are. So some of you might know what phonics are from our past classes, and some of you are new to this. That is okay. So today's focus is on phonics, and we're going to understand it, and by the end of the class we're going to be well equipped with what phonics means or what phonics is. Now on to the first thing we're going to focus on. Phonics is the method of teaching children to read and write by associating sounds. These sounds are what we call phonemes. Okay, so phonics is just a way of us as your teachers teaching you how to read and write by associating sounds, and these sounds is what we call phonemes. So you associate these sounds with letters or letter combinations known as graphemes. Okay, so I will explain this, no worry. So phonics is a method of teaching, or phonics is a way in which we teach children to read and write. And what are you reading and write? You're trying to associate the sounds you create in your head and combine them, or combine these sounds with letters, and then you can represent them in your book or write them in your book. So these sounds are what we are known as phonemes, and these letters are what we known as graphemes. Okay class, it's very easy to understand. Again, like I talked about our notebook, our vocabulary notebook, you can take your notebook and jot down these vocabularies for today. One vocabulary is here, the phonemes. I will underline it. The other vocabulary is here on graphemes. Okay, so these two vocabularies, phonemes are just sounds. The sounds when you speak or when you utter out words, the sounds are what we call or what is known as phonemes, but the letters that are associated with these sounds are what we call graphemes. Okay, so graphemes are the letters, graphemes are these letters, while phonemes are these sounds. Now the method of teaching children how to read and write by associating these sounds and these letters is what we call phonics, and these sounds are what we call phonemes, while this letter is what we call graphemes. So this combination of the two is what we call phonics. Okay, let me get rid of my lines there. So again, I will repeat, phonics is just a method of teaching children how to read and write. And how do we teach you how to read and write? We want you to associate sounds and letters and then represent them. So these sounds are called the phonemes, while these letters are what we call the graphemes. So once you associate these two, you can be able to represent them, and this is what we call phonics. So the goal of phonics is, goal of phonic instruction is to help children understand the relationship between spoken and written word. Now, for example, when you speak and when you write, there's a difference between the two. Now, the main idea behind phonics is just to help you understand the relationship between you speaking and you writing words. What is the relationship between you saying the word cup and writing the word cup down? So this is what phonics is going to be all about, where we're going to help each other understand the relationship between the spoken and the written word. So I will give examples and concepts related to phonics in this class. So there are a lot of concepts or a lot of what you must know so that you can be a good understanding. You can have a good understanding of what phonics are. So for you to understand what phonics are, you have to have these concepts. So today I'm going to be talking about these concepts, 5 of them or just a few of them. We're going to explain them in depth, give examples, and through understanding these concepts, then you will be able to get the general meaning of what phonics are, okay, or what phonics is. Now let's move to talking about phonics again before I move to the other concept we must understand. Now phonics, one thing we have to know is that they are the smallest units of sound in spoken language. Phonics are the smallest units of sounds in spoken language. In English, there are about 44 phonemes, which include individual letter sounds, e.g. b, and the letter b, and letter combinations that make unique sounds, such as the sh, which is found in shoes. Now, this is just an explanation, but very, very easy, very simple to understand. Now, what you need to understand here is that phonics are the smallest units of sound in the spoken language. So we have 44 phonics, and I believe there are other phonemes that we will understand and we will get to learn about them. Now here, when I was talking about phonics, I told you to take note of our two vocabularies here. And the two vocabularies I gave that I wanted us to, let me point it out. The two vocabularies is this one, the word phonemes, and this other one, graphemes. So I told you jot these vocabularies down because they're the main areas we're going to focus on, so that we can be able to understand what phonemes are, or what phonics are, or what graphemes are. Now we're talking about phonics in general, and right now I want us to major on the first point where we're going to discuss about the phonemes, okay? Phonemes are the sounds that I talked about, while graphemes are the letters that we talked about. Now, phonemes are the smallest unit of the spoken language, okay? These are just like the sounds, and these are the smallest units of the spoken language. So they include letter sounds and some sounds that are combinations of other letters. So for example, look at this sound. I want to point it out to you using my pen. Look at this sound. This is sound B, but letter B, okay? So phonemes are sound. They're sounds, they're not letters. So just remember that, class, that phonemes are sounds. So we have this letter sound B, but the letter itself is B. So you find that B is the letter, but the sound of it is the other one in the other letter. So the combination of the two, or this combination, is what that gives us the phonemes and how we understand the phonemes in this context. So that is the difference you have to take key note of before you understand anything in phonemes and the phonics and everything we'll be talking about. So you see, class, it's very, very easy to understand, and there's nothing hard to understand about it. Just remember that phonemes are the smallest unit of the spoken language and easily understood. So for example, and these are sounds. For example, the sound B, but the letter itself is B. So that's the difference between the two. And that is what brings about or makes the phonemes itself very, very easy again. So class, it's very, very easy to understand phonemes because they're just sounds we speak every day. And in our earlier classes, we spoke about sounds. I gave examples of sounds, and this is something that we have to understand. So that is what phonemes are. Now let's continue understanding even better these phonemes, because I just want us to get in-depth understanding of what phonemes are, and let us all learn what phonemes are and understand, okay? So phonemes are the smallest unit of sound in a language. They are individual, distinct sounds that make up a spoken word. So if you're speaking the word bag, when you speak the word bag, or maybe mat, cat, pat, this is a word, yes, but you find that there are sounds attached to it. This word is made up of sounds, and these sounds are what makes us to be able to speak the sound. So therefore we find the word phonemes, and then we've come up with the word phoneme, because phonemes are just these sounds, and they're the smallest unit of language, the spoken language in short. So in English, there are approximately 44 phonemes, or these sounds, and understanding these phonemes is crucial for reading and pronunciation. So for you to be able to understand phonemes, you have to understand these words and these sounds, and this will help you even become a good reader. So someone who wants to be a good reader in this class, or good at pronouncing words, you have to be good at understanding these phonemes and how to pronounce these phonemes. Once you know how to pronounce the phonemes, then you'll be a good reader. And just like I'm saying again, phonemes are just the smallest unit of sounds in a language, and this is the spoken language. So phonemes are the sounds, don't forget that. So these sounds are what help us communicate, and these sounds are what make up the spoken word or the spoken language. It's because of the sound here. Yeah. So that is how you differentiate the phonemes from the major part of what we're looking at, the phonics. Okay, so phonemes are just the specific sounds or the in a spoken word. Now let's look at some examples of phonemes, and this will, once we look at these examples, we'll be able to understand even better what phonemes are. So the first example I will look at is the sound, this sound here. And so I want us to deeply look at these examples of phonemes, and the first example that we're going to look at is I want to point it out for you so that you can see. Now class, look at this sound here. This is sound P. You can make it with me, say P, P. So this is the sound P. So this is the sound you make when you say the word pen. You see, when you say pen, you say it like P, pen. So this is the sound, is an example of a phoneme, whereby this sound is the word, is you say it when you're saying the word pen. It is initial sound in words like part and pink. So the initial sound in such words, we have like part, pink, paper, pen. You see, such words are what are formed by this letter here, or this sound here. So this is the first example of the sound, or an example of a phoneme. The second example we move to is the sound B. This is sound B. This is the word, it's found in words like but, big, and this is an example of a phoneme. So we have the first example of a phoneme here, the sound P, the sound B, and we find this in words like but, big. You see, when you say the word but, when you say the word big, you're saying B, B, and you're bringing out the sound B. So it is similar to the sound P, but voiced in a different way, meaning that you vibrate with your vocal cords, and this we'll understand later. But you notice when you say B and P, you find there's a difference. There's one that is more softer, and there's another one when you say, you feel like there's some vibration when you say it. So phonemes are just sounds. The second sound here is T, T. When you say it, this is a sound found in words like tap, cut. You feel that tap, cut. So these are the three examples of phonemes. I will continue looking at other examples of phonemes because I want you to understand what phonemes are, how you use them in your day-to-day life, because I believe as we talk, as you come to class, as you visit your friends, you're always using phonemes. And we say that phonemes are what form the phonics, and phonics is a way that we teach you how to read and write, and how to combine these sounds and letters, how to write them, and be able to be good at speaking and good at writing too. So one branch of the phonics we are looking at is the phonemes, okay? So I want you to get that clearly. Do not confuse the two. I know it's somehow the words look related and the words look more similar, but you remember the main class today, our main focus is on phonics. And I say that phonics is a method of teaching children how to write by associating sounds with letters. And I say this sounds is an example of the sound, or these sounds is what we call phonemes. So phonemes are sounds, and this letter combination of the letters are what we call graphemes. So when we combine the phonemes and the graphemes is when we know how to write, and this is what is called phonics, okay? So the main lesson is the phonics. This method, how we are going to teach you how to read and write by associating or combining letters and sound, and the sound here is what we call phonemes, and the letter is where we call graphemes, okay? So I've started with the phonemes first, and this is the sound. So my first focus is the phonemes first. I want you to understand the phonemes, and I've told you phonemes the smallest unit of a spoken language. When you're speaking, you speak like B. I gave examples here of some phonemes, and these are just sounds that we make when we're speaking. Sounds like P, B, T. You get? So these are examples of the phonemes. We have other examples like D, K, G. D is a sound that is found, and it's almost similar to T, this sound T, but they are voiced differently. So we have D, K, T, G. So these are phonemes, these are sounds, and these are examples of phonemes, where I'm saying sounds, okay?